Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today's story takes us over to Eastern PA for one of the many haunted universities we've covered. I'm Sarah.
And I'm David.
Let's get into it. This season, we're being sponsored by our friends at Haunted US. They travel the country bringing you real stories of American hauntings every Thursday at hauntedus.com. All right. Villanova University is the topic today.
Nova.
I've actually seen you swim at Villanova.
Yes, I swam very well at Villanova. Swam.
I forgot how different it is to do episodes with you versus Erica. So, yeah, when you were swimming, it was far before us being married, but you must have been there.
Yes, because I did a very good swam.
Yes, all right.
And Tyler was there diving.
Yes, he was. My brother was diving. So, I actually really wanted to go to Villanova for college, like so badly. I was very serious. I'm pretty sure my dad took me on 6 or 7 tours there. I really wanted to go, but it's like back when I started college, it was like $56K a year.
Oof.
And I applied for scholarships and got like 1% or something stupid, something very negligible. It was still going to be over 50 grand to go. So definitely it's a no for me. But I have visited a lot of times. Every dive meet that was at Villanova, we went to, we had friends that went to Villanova, like upperclassmen that had graduated and went to Villanova. So I've been here a lot. You've been there at least 4 times, right?
I think the swim team went 2 times to Nova.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Cool. So, history. All of the history comes from their website. When we can, we try to get all of the history directly from the location's website, so we're 100% sure that it's factual. So, Villanova is a religious university. I think many, many people know that. Although Villanova is also known for their basketball team. It's actually sponsored by the Augustinian Order, which is a Catholic order, and it has been since 1842, which is crazy. Some of these universities, I had no idea how old they were.
In the U.S., I mean, 1842 makes sense to me for a U.S.
I know, but
college.
I mean, and they have a lot of old architecture, and you'd think, oh, it's old, but when I hear 1842, that's just crazy to me. Over 150 years old. Think of the people that have walked there. It's crazy to me. It's just really cool.
It is. I mean, it's a really old university. Actually, that makes me wonder, what is America's oldest university?
America's oldest university. Erica, can you fact check?
Yes.
Or fact find, rather. So, Villanova traces back to a St. Augustine church in Philly, which was founded in 1796. And the property that Villanova sits on today initially belonged to the estate of John Rudolph. John Rudolph's widow, Jane Lloyd Rudolph, was a friend of St. Augustine's. For those listening and not watching, our cat just jumped up, as she did in a previous episode, I think. All right, Cat has safely returned to the floor. So, a few years after John Rudolph's death, because his wife was a good friend of the St. Augustine Church, and he died in 1838. Jane agreed to sell the estate to the Augustinians. So he died in 1838, and the website, the university, has been sponsored since 1842. So it's only 4 years. And she actually agreed to sell it for only $18,000, even though it was reported to be worth over $40,000.
Still, $18,000 back then, that's a ton of money. She could have lived the rest of her life out so comfortably.
Well, I'm sure she didn't even need to sell it if they had enough money to own it, you know. She probably had a lot of money. And it consisted of 200 acres with the mansion and all of the outbuildings. So the whole property went to the Augustinians. And it is under the patronage of St. Thomas of Villanova, which is how it got its name. And I didn't know that till I researched. Yeah, I always was wondering, why Villanova? It's a catchy name. It sounds nice.
Nova.
Exactly. In 1844, so this is only 2 years after it was sponsored by the Augustinian order, riots in Philadelphia resulted in the burning of St. Augustine's Church. As a result, the college closed its doors in February of 1845. The college reopened in September of 1846, and at that time it only had about 24 students, so very small.
Yeah, that's tiny.
Each gets 8 acres. So, again, in 1857, Villanova College closed for a second time due to staffing issues. And in 1861, the Civil War affected enrollment, and the college was only reopened in 1865. So it was closed for about 8 years there, which the Civil War happened during the closure, so pretty significant.
Yeah, but I don't think the Civil War at that point was what was really hurting them.
Well, it said it affected enrollment. I mean, think about it. If there were battles being fought by Philly area.
Yeah, it just sounded like they had really rocky start there. So,
Yeah.
To say the Civil War was the larger cause.
That's true. And in 1968, Villanova became co-educational under the presidency of Father Robert J. Welsh, which is crazy that it took that long. That's fairly recent that it was co-ed.
Do you think he's Welsh?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
But as I always say, if there's a punny joke, David will find it. I just think of all of our TikToks and stuff. Hello, sweet girl, you have returned. Hi. Oh, our
She's
cat
a snuggly
loves
girl.
us. So at Villanova University, there are 5 colleges: liberal arts, engineering, business, nursing, and law. And there are 32 undergraduate majors and 43 minors with 16 interdisciplinary concentrations. So that's the history. Again, all of it comes from the website. Erica, oldest university in Pennsylvania, in America.
Harvard University, 1636.
Harvard, 1636. Honestly, gonna be honest, that feels like a fact that Harvard made up, but I have nothing to dispute it.
I raise your facts with my... Nah.
It feels like, who's gonna argue with them? I know. I'm partially joking, but it does kind of seem like a fact that Harvard would make up. Sweet girl, I love you, but please. Okay.
She's just going to lay down. It'll be fine.
Right. Everybody that's watching gets to see the cat. She's a very fluffy gray cat for those that aren't watching. Now moving on to the paranormal story.
Spooky.
I love a haunted university. I really do love a haunted university. I think they're so cool. We've covered multiple in Pittsburgh. We've covered now this one. It's just really cool to me that ghosts linger where there's all this educational stuff happening. So, first up is St. Mary's Hall. And this is the most popular haunted location on Villanova's campus. It was built in 1963, so 5 years before it became co-ed. Legend has it that when the building was first being used as a house for clergy and nuns, a nun had an affair with a priest, became pregnant, and then died by suicide in St. Mary's Hall itself.
Before or after she delivered the baby?
I believe before she delivered the baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Now, it is noteworthy to say that the administration does deny that this ever took place, so this is local legend and conjecture. I think it would be beneficial for the administration to say this didn't take place, But
right.
Either way, that is what local legend says. Students who have lived in the building have reported hearing odd sounds, like someone swimming in a pool or an organ playing when no one's there. In the swimming pool, I thought, oh, this must be the pool. It's not. So where are they hearing that?
Yeah, that's strange. That makes me kind of jokingly think well, maybe somebody has a hidden bathtub.
Well, I was like, is there a fountain or
Oh, that's a good point.
what? Because even if it was built to house nuns and priests, there would not have been a swimming pool. So why would you ever have that sound? The only other thing I could think of is it the sound of someone being baptized?
Or would it the sound of bathing, potentially? Like somebody dumping water over themselves
That
to
could
bathe?
be. It could be. I was thinking more baptism, like full body in water, but
That works too.
I mean, it could be both. But as for the piano/organ, some even report that there's a light from nowhere that shines onto the piano in this building, which is really interesting to me. Some people say divine intervention. Some people say haunted.
Paranormal either way.
That is true. That is true. Good point.
See,
good
look
point.
at that. Shameless plug for this podcast that I know. It's called Paranormal Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Hi, listeners. We're so excited to tell you about our partnership with Haunted US. Haunted US is an online publication that brings you credible articles on the history and specific paranormal claims of haunted locations across the country. We've even used them to research some of our episodes. Visit hauntedus.com for new haunted places every Thursday.
So there are more physical hauntings, with residents reporting that there are trash cans moved in front of their doors in the middle of the night. I did look into this, and I couldn't identify if it was within their bedroom or outside of the bedroom. Because if it's outside the bedroom, this sounds like someone playing a prank.
Right. And then, you continue the legend. You always, the next class. Yeah.
I was thinking that. But if it's inside, that's a little bit more suspicious. Because how would that be happening?
Unless you're a really deep sleeper and somebody keeps coming in.
Into all of the rooms across many years? There's no way.
No. I mean, that's being fairly facetious on my part.
Right. And I was trying to think of the significance of a trash can, or is it just the idea of blocking a door?
I would go with blocking the door.
Yeah.
Because, in the dorms at Pitt, you almost always had your trash can next to your door. Or that, people would put their trash cans outside.
For, trash pickup?
Well,
Why
would you
put it
pick
outside?
up? I don't know. A lot of people had their trash cans outside their doors.
I don't know what weird college experience you had. Mine was under my desk.
Oh, I love smelly garbage under my desk.
I didn't have smelly garbage.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you take out the garbage before it gets smelly.
That's what they all say.
Maybe it's just that your athlete college dorm experience was much different than my, single unit experience. Because you lived with a lot of people, right?
Yeah, we had suites.
Yeah.
So there were 6 to 8, depending on what suite you got.
Yeah, so I think you would generate more smelly garbage that way. Either way, I thought it was interesting that it was a trash can. They also report lights flickering despite replacing light bulbs. So it's the light's flickering. We have to change the bulb. They go and change the bulb, and the light is still flickering.
Yeah, but that one to me is always did they then change the wiring and it continued?
Mm-hmm.
Did they continue to troubleshoot this, or was it they just changed the light bulb and it kept happening?
Yeah, I do always think that is it just that it's the wiring and it's not really paranormal?
Yeah, for flickering lights, that certainly makes me think that. But
right. Especially when it's not, tied to any specific happening that could be associated with the spirit.
Right.
So next up is a set of tunnels connecting the Mendel Science Center to St. Mary's Hall, so still partially involving this hall. And allegedly these were used as fallout shelters in the Cold War. Some say that this is untrue and they're just used to transport between the buildings. I mean, we had tunnels at our university too.
Yeah, I mean, I knew them not for bomb shelter, but just as a way to not go out in the freezing cold.
Yeah.
And to go between buildings.
Yeah. I'm not trying to say the ones at Pitt were fallout shelter. So I think it gives credence to these tunnels at Villanova being used for transport and not the Cold War.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And the quote hauntings people get here are creepy feelings and seeing things in the shadows. And again, I take it with a grain of salt because they're creepy tunnels underground that aren't completely finished. It's dark. It's easy when, you have light that's either moving or not full light to look like you're seeing things in shadows. It's easy to get an eerie feeling if you're in an underground tunnel. But what do you think?
I mean, yeah, some people get creeped out when they're in a tunnel, especially when they know it's an old tunnel.
Yeah.
I know Pitt's tunnel certainly looked the age that they were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, totally safe, but it's these are, back from, I don't know, maybe 50s or whatever, whenever they were constructed. But I could also see if there's a spirit or something down there that doesn't like that people are there, but then what is the spirit tied to? So there's more questions that come from when you start probing towards the paranormal.
Right, and there wasn't a lot of information on the tunnels, actually. I thought this would be a huge, significant haunting, but I couldn't find a ton on it. Moving on to another haunted location on Villanova's campus is Alumni Hall. When the campus closed during the Civil War, which we mentioned in the history section, they actually used some of the buildings as a hospital for wounded soldiers, and one of those buildings, was Alumni Hall. One student, named Luke Miller, reported his paranormal happenings here. Quote, "I don't really believe in that stuff, but there were some weird things that happened to me in the building. I had sleep paralysis and felt like I was being choked but couldn't move, which never happened before, and the hand dryers would turn on randomly in the bathrooms." End quote.
Well, once again, the hand dryers.
Right. It's an old building.
More like wiring, old building is what I think there. The sleep paralysis thing, that's creepy, and especially if that's never happened to you before, that's really scary.
Yeah.
And also, Alumni Hall's here in Pittsburgh.
I just think it's interesting because a lot of times that people died in unfortunate circumstances, because I'd say most deaths are unfortunate. But a lot of times we see the interactions with the spirit can mirror what the person experienced when they were passing away. Like the spy that was hung in Elfrist Alley produces the choking sensation. So I wonder here if it was someone, they could have been choking on blood, if they had an injury, they're choking on gas. I don't think gas was used in the Civil War.
Not that I know of.
Choking on something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, in your research, did you see that there were actually soldiers that did die in the hospital?
I did not see, but I do know that other than just this one student, many other people reported the sensation of choking in this hall.
So that feels, that gives more credible to the paranormal in my mind then.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have one instance of sleep paralysis, it's that probably just happened to you the first time in your life, and that's horrifying. But if a lot of people start reporting, I feel like I'm being choked, that's interesting.
Right, and I was trying to think, even, is it air quality? What could it be? But there's no way.
Well, I guess it also, you bring up a good point, is what type of choking is it? Does it feel like somebody's grabbing your throat, or is it like all of a sudden I just can't breathe?
Yeah, it didn't specify. I took it as all of a sudden I can't breathe, but who knows, I guess. It could be either.
If it's a feeling of actually being physically choked, I don't know. That seems to indicate more paranormal spookiness to me.
I agree. But I also wrote off the hand dryers similarly to you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I wish I could be more, not receptive, but sympathetic maybe to, electrical phenomenon. But often it's old building, old wiring.
Right.
Or, just bad product. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the building has been around since the Civil War at least. So, yeah. We have one more building, and it's Picotte. I might not be pronouncing that correctly. It's
Piquette.
Piquette, is it, you think?
Pichette.
Picotte Hall at Dundale. And that's the full name of the hall. And there's interesting phenomena here. It's all having to do with lights. So one of the things that happens is the university staff is often called to the hall many times because they receive reports of students that are there after hours in the building and shouldn't be there. But every time they go to investigate, there's nobody actually in the building. And so you might be thinking, we just talked about electrical phenomenon. But if this was such an ongoing issue, I was trying to think of it from the university perspective. Not only are they paying to send people out to investigate this, but if the lights are flicking on and off at night and staying on for hours, that would be a significant amount of money loss. I think they would look into it.
Yeah, for something like this, I do hope the university would have all right, let's check the wiring.
Right.
Let's figure out what's going on here. What's interesting about it too is when you have long periods of it going on and then on, off, on, off, on, off, or off for multiple minutes on. That randomness is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and apparently it also happens even when people are there. So it's not exclusive to just at night. It doesn't seem like there's any real trigger from what I read. They will just go on and off on their own.
Yeah, I mean, that still makes me think, like, again, bad wiring. But I also really like the idea of a ghost just messing around with people and just like, I can turn this on and off.
I don't know.
Look at me.
I took it differently. I took it as someone that maybe used to be in the building and they're like, no, I need the light on,
Oh, interesting. Well, then why turn it off?
when they're leaving. Just because they've decided. I mean, if we say spirits are in the afterlife as they are when they're alive, you would turn the light off when you leave.
That makes sense.
Or it didn't say if they were motion sensor or not, but I think that would be even more compelling.
Yeah, if there's like, that is the cool thing about modern technology, is when you do see the light come on and it's like nobody's in there.
Yeah.
But the motion sensor, detected movement.
Right. So who knows? Those are all of the hauntings at Villanova University. What do you think of the hauntings? Would you go visit?
Oh, I'd happily go visit Villanova. It's a wonderful university. I poked fun at its start, a little rocky, but I got no problem with Villanova.
Yeah, I would love to go back. It's a beautiful campus. The campus itself is really nice. And I would love to do an investigation here. I always think that universities are interesting because there's so many people there to possibly report something. And typically at odder hours than like a museum, for example. Like there's more people at universities overnight because people actually live there.
Right. Yeah, and I would like to see their campus too, because every time I visited Villanova, we went to their pool and then we left their pool.
Oh, let's go.
And there was not much in between.
Let's go. It's a beautiful campus and you'll love it. I mean, I didn't want to go there because it's ugly. If it's ugly, I wouldn't want to go there.
Oh, was that the only thing that you cared about?
That's all I cared about.
Oh.
Nothing to do with the programs. Actually, I wanted to go there when I wanted to be a business major because it's a really good business school. But I have a friend that went there and studied chemical engineering and she loved it. So maybe it's also good sciences.
Yeah, I don't know really anything about their academics, truthfully. Yeah. I know they're good at basketball.
Yes, they are good at basketball.
Laid up for Jesus.
All right. So that is all of the hauntings at Villanova University. Let us know what you think of us covering haunted universities. Let us know if your university is haunted. And tune in next Thursday to see what hauntings we discuss next. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Paranormal in Pennsylvania for behind-the-scenes content. Stay spooky.